Hello, welcome back to the Transfer Portal CFB podcast, presented by NoContextCFB. It's just two of us today. It's the guys from that Sun Belt preview that warned you that the Sun Belt was the best dang conference in all the land. And yeah, the Sun Belt's still going strong. We know that. But there's so much more going on in this college football world. It's week 6. The season has flown by, much like Ohio State's heavy passing attack. It's going so quick. I don't know why. We're having a lot of fun, though. We can't wait to, kind of break down, share our thoughts on this week 6. And yeah, happy to have you with me today, Dan. And, any words from you?
No, happy to be here. Happy to talk about a week. It was kind of maybe a slower week in football. It felt like when you're watching like a season of television and there's the first arc and then there's that episode where they just kind of move the pieces around and they're setting up the big storyline, the big action scene in the next episode. So this was the move the pieces together kind of week.
These next 2 weeks are going to be massive, and you're definitely right, because we had Wednesday and Friday games before we got into the Saturday slate, and it just felt like clunky. It didn't feel great, those games. And then we finally got into Saturday, and it was good, but it wasn't the level of, great slates that we've seen in the weeks past, which is fine. It's not going to have that consistency week to week, but it all led up to the big finish. One of the best finishes that we'll see all season, one of the best in recent memory, in my opinion. And yeah, we'll break that game down, but please, if you're on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe, comment below your thoughts on week 6 on Spotify or Apple. Please follow us, leave a rating that you think we're worthy of, and let's just get into Oregon State, Stanford, a little Pac-12 after dark action. Finally.
You're going to have to tell me about it. This East Coast boy was asleep.
That's an issue with you and so many other people that saw this game on the slate and said, my sleep is important. I get it, but this game was unbelievable. And yeah, it wasn't very good for, let's say, the vast majority of it. It didn't really get good till the fourth quarter, which is fine because Mark Jones and RG3 have truly created one of the most entertaining commentating duos in sports. Like, there's never a dull moment with them. We've seen them on late night games before, even afternoon games. They've just been electric. So this entire game, I'm not kidding you, the entire timeline was just having fun with RG3 and Mark Jones all night. The commentary was incredible. They were making fun of fans. It was just RG3 is just so weird. I don't know. He's so weird in the best way. And like people have been saying for a while, college football needs a Bill Walton.
Yeah.
It's RG3. It's wild to say. RG3 is the Bill Walton of college football. Just, I don't like, they're doing a little hockey promo because NHL starting up, opening nights on ESPN on Tuesday. Then they show a fan who's got long hair, and RG3's like, oh yeah, that looks like a hockey fan. He does these like weird voices with it. It makes no sense. He's just a comedic genius for some reason. He's really good. A lot of stuff he was doing with the Stanford band. There were some good clips from that, and I don't know, just what there are fans definitely in taking some alcohol in a water bottle, and the commentary over that, in which Mark Jones was like something about what's in that drink. Like, that was good content too. It was just good stuff. And then about the game. Sorry, that was what we cared about the vast majority. We got into the fourth quarter where Oregon State's down 24-10. They look lost. Stanford has dominated this game in very ugly fashion. Kyle Blue Kelly isn't even playing for Stanford, which ends up showing why that's so important late. But Oregon State excites with Silas Bolden's touchdown. They end up going for 2, down 8, and it wasn't because of the analytics. Their long snapper got injured in this game. So
really?
That's why Oregon State went for 2. And then 5:45 remaining or something, Damian Martinez rips off a 43-yard run to the Cribbo. They go for 2 again, and they fail again. if I'm not mistaken. They failed again. So now you've got this 24-22 game, and it looks like Stanford's salting the game away. Nope.
Nope.
They bring in, I forget his name, they bring up their backup QB who's like been running a little. And Oregon State knows the run's coming on 3rd and short. And he loses like 3 yards. And they end up kicking the field goal. Now it's 27-22, but a minute left. Oregon State's been able to dink and dunk their way downfield a good bit. They're making decent progress, but it's still looking like they're gonna have to go heave a Hail Mary at some point. And they've got their backup quarterback in because obviously Chance Nolan didn't play in this game. What happens next is just it's just shocking. You have Mark Jones and RG3 both analyzing the situation, thinking through all right, where do they need to get for Ben Branson to be in range for a Hail Mary or a deep throw or something. They're analyzing that. They're thinking Stanford's not gonna let anything get behind them. Prevent defenses in this point have been a thing that's happened in college football so much. It's come to bite teams in the past. What had happened was it was a jaw-dropping moment that what I said after this happened was 24 hours ago, we were all speechless because the Nevada-Colorado State game, we were speechless 24 hours later, almost exactly on the dot. Trayshawn Harrison makes one of the most absurd catches you'll ever see. He's basically... It's a bit similar to the catch Evan Storp made with a minute left in the Alabama-Texas A&M game, where the receiver Trayshawn Harrison is sandwiched between two Stanford DBs, and he ends up climbing the elevator on the corner. He just climbs on top of him, elevates over him, and just picks the ball off his shoulder, and the DB is just befuddled. He's lost. He can't believe what's happened. He doesn't think that this man has caught the ball, has stayed up. Trayshawn's off to the races. The DB that was coming over there for help that never got to make that sandwich of a hit, he's just looking at him. He pulled up he didn't want to make a hit, there was potential for targeting or something. So he just pulls up. He's just watching Trayshawn. He just watching him. And Trayshawn's just running downfield. He's just running for his 53-yard touchdown. That was one of the most absurd things. It was so unexpected. It's what makes those late night Pac-12 after dark games. And we haven't had a moment like that in a while. It's felt like it was, I was thinking of what to say about this. And when you have a Hail Mary like we had with Holy Cross and App State, you're expecting that slim possibility of a touchdown happening. It's still utter shock and awe. You can't believe that happened. When Oregon State's backup quarterback, Ben Branson, is throwing this awful pass to the sideline, which Oregon State's Twitter account decided to say an absolute dime. No, this was not a very good pass. This was all Trayshawn Harrison, one of the most remarkable plays of the season. When that pass is being made, there's not 1 ounce of fiber in your body that ever thinks, oh, this is a touchdown. This could be a touchdown. And that's just why this is so shocking to me, is it was just one of the most improbable game winners that we've, a lot of people were comparing it to Crabtree against Texas. And they're not wrong. It was that level of insanity, it felt like. And all the... Oh my gosh, the Stanford fans that were actually awake at the stadium to watch this were just beside them, just in shock. This is another thing. The games, these late night games with RG3 and Mark Jones, the crowd shots that they're getting, it's the best in college football, and they're consistently getting the best shots. And it's like ESPN producers know, we got RG3 and Mark on the call. This is what we got to do. At least 7 fans shown throughout the night that were asleep, whether there was a kid or an adult. So the fans that were actually awake to see this, Stanford fans, it was just unreal. Then I'm thinking there's no way that's the play that could get David Shaw fired, right?
I don't think they fire Shaw. I think that school and the early signing period was a really bad combination. They're letting him work out of that. I think might get the DC there fired. I'm drawing a blank on his name, but that defense has really cratered under his watch in the last couple of years. But the play it reminded me of was the Minnesota Miracle, Stephon Diggs in the playoffs. and the way the help comes over and then just kind of pulls up. And number 24 for Stanford, like, could have shoved him out of bounds, and he just didn't. And then it's off to the races. And that, that's all she wrote. So really kind of reminded me of that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good comp as well. Another one that we've seen, which is probably a lot more comparable than the Crabtree one, but just on college football terms.
Yeah.
It'd be Crabtree that comes to mind, but yeah.
The Crabtree was what came to mind when I saw the play, like, instantly. But then when I saw 24, the safety help come over and just kind of whiff on it, that made me think of the Diggs play. But yeah, I mean, this year has been tough, but Stanford, they're trying some interesting things on offense with the slow mesh and, stealing that from not stealing, innovating.
Yeah.
What Wake Forest does. And, but I think, Shaw's been there so long. He's an institution. He gets a chance to make a DC hire and turn it around.
Yeah, like, I really do. I really like David Shaw. It's just like, it's bittersweet. Like, his time could be up, and that stinks. Like, just watching as a fan of Pac-12 school, even though they've destroyed us, it's still gonna hurt when he eventually goes on and moves on from Stanford. What he's been able to help build there is truly tremendous. Yeah. Just some of the teams and athletes that he's produced and the high level of kids that they've got over there. Like, I don't ever want to see David Shaw go. I'm very afraid for the day that for the day that it could happen. I just don't want to see it happen, but it'd be really weird. Tavita Pritchard, though, their OC, who's obviously a former ball player there, we all know, he's been doing good things at OC. Like you said, he's been innovative. He's been trying up a lot of cool stuff. It's not all just that Stanford jump ball offense in the red zone. Like,
no, they don't really do that anymore.
No, they did, though. Bryson Tremaine made a heck of a grab on a touchdown on one last night. But yeah, they're kind of shying away from that a good bit. And
they had like 4 tight ends.
Yeah,
and that stuff. It's been a couple of years since they've really been that kind of team. So
yeah, and they have a star tight end, Benjamin Urosek. It's like, he just doesn't even get the volume that he deserves. So it's kind of interesting when Stanford has been this TEU kind of program. But
right. And what I was going to say, one last thought, it would have been, you were talking about, running the ball with the lead, and they were unable to do that and keep the clock. And that's a scenario where having your top back, a stud like EJ Smith would have really, really helped in a scenario like that. So
definitely would have. Yeah. And we'll move on to.
Yeah, that's a lot of Stanford talk at the time.
That was a lot of Stanford talk. Shout out to Oregon State for that win, though. Jonathan Smith, heck of an HC.
Yeah.
Wild game. Good for them that they were able to win that game without Chance Nolan, without Luke Musgrave at tight end still, who's a star future NFL guy that's been hurt for a few weeks. But a lot of stars in this one. Texas A&M, Alabama, Dan.
This was a humdinger. This was a good game. It was a weird game, but it was close to the end. I honestly, I was in the camp that thought A&M was going to get blown out. I really did. So
yeah.
People say Jim was going to fire. Jim was going to fire. They're talking about the buyout. He's getting 2023. It's too much money. And there's proof of concept. Like, this team isn't as good as they can be and potentially will be, maybe when Wegman takes the controls next year. And yeah, I don't know. Like, A&M is going in the right direction. They've lost a few tough ones, but the fact that they could play their B game and still hang with Alabama tells me that this is working. He's not getting fired.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get fired, too. I think the memes are really fun about it. I also still think he's an absolute coward for saying, what did you do to beat Alabama? And he said, go vegan, and he never went vegan. I thought that was really lame. They didn't, hold true to his word on that last year, and maybe that's why you didn't win this game at the end, because you didn't honor your promise of going vegan. But
that was his Faustian bargain, was he would give up meat if he could beat Alabama.
Yeah, he said he would go vegan if he could beat Alabama. And then they beat Bama, they never went vegan. So, hey, I don't know. But that A&M offense is still just that scheme is just so terrible. It just holds them back, and it's tough to see when Chris Marshall had a really good game. That's another true freshman receiver who is extremely raw basketball player, is finally fully committed to football now. He's gonna have a bright future. Moose Muhammad, that's Mushin Muhammad's kid that's making big plays. He had a touchdown grab. And then Evan Stork just looks like he was obviously one of the top receivers in the recruiting class and everything. But as a guy that isn't big into recruiting or anything, like I don't really know what to expect. He's got round one written all over him by the time he's said.
Round one,
Like, yeah,
top 10.
yeah, like this
Yeah.
kid is unbelievable. Some of the catches that he was making in this game, it's truly remarkable. I'll be happy to highlight more about what he did later and just kind of focus on this game and how it ended now. But it's that final play of the game for Texas A&M, which, yes, credit to Alabama and Nick Saban for diving into how they defend this final play. I thought that was really
cool.
That was super cool, insightful stuff. Please check that out if you haven't already. But the play here from Texas A&M is terrible. It was a terrible play call that it never made sense to me. It was truly like, yeah, we're throwing the ball to Evan Stort here, but like, okay, I get that, but it was a short out route, and he never, like, I don't know, man. It was just never any signs that this was going to be open. This was a low percentage throw that was being made from the jump. There were a whole lot. What I was hoping to see what I was hoping to see, the old wide receiver screen, and then you just pitch it. I was hoping to see an innovative version of this, which we haven't seen yet, where you have your outside receiver is in trips wide or whatever, and he's running down in motion, and you're snapping it, and you're giving him a tunnel screen with the blocking, but you're going to use Devin Awchain on like a swing and a wheel, so that when that receiver is catching the ball, just have it be Evan Stort. He's catching the ball, and you're just lateraling it to Awchain, who's going to be able to run up with those blockers up the sideline, hopefully get in. That's what I would have done. I know that that's the more fun way of looking at this instead of the simple way that Jimbo and A&M did, but this play call stunk.
I think you have to have Achane in the pattern in some way. For me, play calling gripes, Jimbo knows more in his pinky than I'll ever know about football. He forgets more in a week than I'll ever know about X's and O's. And I don't mind griping out about big picture play calling, whether to go for it more on fourth down or things like that. Because those things are bigger picture, and they're strategy. They're not tactics. I don't know tactics. I don't know what they were doing in practice. I don't know what throws King favors, or what they've been working on in the off season, what they're installed, what defensive alignments they were looking at and trying to create all game. I don't know those things, but all that said, that was a baffling play call. And I think the most baffling part is it wasn't even to the goal line. Even if it had been completed pass, the game would have been over and they would have lost. It would have been short. I can't imagine there isn't anything better in that giant play call sheet he walks around over there.
Yeah, I don't jump pass even comes to mind as something that would have been better. Just maybe it's a little play action to Awchain, and then your tight end's leaking out over the middle top of the end zone, whatever, and you're able to hit him. There's just 1,000 different. There's probably 10,972 better plays than what they ran. For Johnny Manziel's insight, here's what he said: one of the worst calls I've ever seen in my life. You have one play to beat the number one team in the country, and that's what we run. Every single practice, you have a goal line period and practice these type of situations. That's a joke of the ending. That's a joke of an ending for the Aggies.
Yeah.
He ain't wrong.
Yes, it was tough.
Yeah, and you're in this spot where Texas A&M should be able to beat Alabama again. They Reichard misses 2 field goals. That's an issue for Alabama, because this is not the first time that he's had the kicking yips.
Yeah. I'm not worried too much about Alabama. That's probably the best defense they'll play until Atlanta in the SEC championship game. People were taking away, Alabama's not that good or things like that, but I think they'll still be fine. Their wide receivers still aren't great, and Milroe isn't ready to shoulder the term. That is not a pun. Get well soon, Bryce. But Milroe is not ready to take the load full time just yet. But
Like
I think they're still going to walk into Atlanta for that SEC West.
Jalen Milroe's super talented. He just has a long way to go as a passer. He could run the ball at a very high level. He has helped Jahmyr Gibbs. The threat of Milroe running has activated Gibbs so much, and Gibbs is showing that he could glide all over anyone. Kid is a monster. I'm so happy for Gibbs, but.
And which game did Alabama's offense look the best in all season? The Utah State game, where Bryce was creating plays with his legs too.
Utah State's defense is very tough as well. But I have no doubts that Alabama is going to walk through and walk to the conference game. Like, that's going to happen. But it's just that Texas win. They lose that game if Quinn Ewers never gets hurt. And then, yes, they didn't have Bryce Young in this game, so it's another game against Texas' opponent with a key quarterback out, of course. And you win it, but it just wasn't I don't know what the word is. It just wasn't moving.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like it was a good football game and it was like fun and everything, but it wasn't like a great display of football from Alabama and Texas A&M.
I feel like both teams played like a B- game.
If that, it was like C plus B minus, somewhere in that realm. It just these issues with Alabama keep happening. Their special teams keeps failing, and then their receiver room just still can't figure it out. And I still think Jalen Milroe, again, isn't the best thrower of the football at this point in his career. But the receiver room still does not make any sense to me with the guys that they're playing. Like, Ja'Cory Brooks makes a touchdown grab in this game, a critical one. Good. I like Brooks. I really do. But your leading receiver, Jermaine Byrne, in this game, has got 48 receiving yards. That ain't it, man. They have what? They had 12 completions in the game. Milroe was 12-19. Okay, but Kobe Prentice was so good against Arkansas. We saw a flash in that freshman's feature. He's got 2 catches for 1 yard in this game. Where was Isaiah Bond, who also looked really good in the Arkansas game? He had nothing in this game. I like Isaiah Bond. I like their young weapons. Shaz Preston. I'm just waiting for this kid to get his shot. And I know if Aaron Anderson didn't get hurt, he's been in a boot. Maybe he's out of it now. I know if he doesn't get hurt in the summer, he's in this receiving room and thriving as a true freshman. I know that for a fact, but Alabama's got to start just throw away the politics of the seniority in your locker room and this receiver group and play the guys that are the best. That are the best guys to give you a shot. These young guys are the best players on the receiving chart, in my opinion.
Yeah, that lost rotation. I don't remember. Again, I'm not a recruitnik, but of Ajay Hall and Billingsley, those two guys kind of it's like you miss a cycle right there. Like, those guys should be kind of stepping into that role.
Yeah, which Ja'Cory Brooks is, I believe, from the same classes. I think he is from the same class. And he's had his moments. He's had a lot of bad moments. And then, like, Jalen Milroe fumbles the ball twice in this game, too. And it's just like 2 missed field goals, the 2 fumbles lost. Jace McClellan lost the fumble, too. Like, there's 5 things that the Aggies need to take advantage of. They lose by 4, final play of the game, whatever, awful call. It's just like I come away from this game thinking, much like the Texas game, Alabama should have lost. And I moved them down in my poll because of it. I just put them from 1 to 2, put Ohio State to 1. I thought that was fair. AP voters might not agree with me, but what am I supposed to do about that?
There's no more victories for A&M at this point, but I saw some meltdown from A&M fans. It's like I'd take the good things from that game. That last play is infuriating for sure, but you did not play your best game and you hung with Alabama on the road. The classes are there, the roster is there. It just needs a little seasoning. 2023, you got to be looking at 2023. That's the year.
Yeah, it's just been a bizarre season for You lose that state. You beat that garbage Miami team. You win the close game against Arkansas. Was going through it. dominated by Mississippi State and now should have beat Alabama again. Now what's going to happen after their bye week and they're at South Carolina?
Yeah. I get why it sucks in the moment, but overall, I would try to feel good about the future from that game.
Yeah, just so many ups and downs for them. And the 8 people thing for me is what I was saying, because they did move Alabama down. I'm saying they disagree because I put Ohio State to 1. They put Georgia 1. I don't get that. That I don't get at all. But who cares about Georgia? Because Colorado State and Nevada played what was going to be the game of the week until some of the stuff on Saturday happened.
This is the sickos game of the year. You gave me some guff in the offseason because I made a little chart as a piece in the offseason where I ranked all the best games of each week. And I said Colorado State, Nevada is going to be one of the best games of week 6 because of the revenge, because of the futility, because of how sick it is going to be. And yeah, I mean, on paper it was awful, but on paper it was beautifully awful. This is the exact I saw the point on Twitter made during that Thursday night game that was so awful. Colts and Broncos. People like sad NFL games are just sad, but sad college games are the best. And this was the best. There was a point I think it was in the second quarter where the Colorado State quarterback had like a -47 passer rating, literally -47. I've never seen that before in my life.
1 for 9 for 2 yards or something.
It was incredible. You had a rushing team in Nevada that couldn't rush the ball. And you had an air raid team in Colorado State that couldn't air raid. They couldn't get anything in the air. It was unbelievable.
Yeah. It left me speechless. And I hated seeing everyone saying, like, do either of these teams want to win this game? Yes. They both
hate each other
to win. They hate each other. This is a rivalry that is brewing because of what Jay Norvell did and how much Ken Wilson dedicates his life to Nevada. Like, this guy bleeds Nevada. He loved Nevada more than anybody has ever loved Nevada, it seems, maybe aside from Paul. and it's just like the hatred that these teams have for each other. They both wanted to win so badly, but they were both so bad. Like, there were that meme where you have the Lamborghini in that bad house. I think it's Lamborghini. I don't remember. You got that really nice, expensive car, and then it's like that beaten down house, whatever, and it's got the hanger thing. Memes. Adam, please put a picture on the screen if I'm not explaining this well. But it was like that with Torrey Horton of Colorado State and Bentley Sanders of Nevada. Like, Horton, the receiver for CSU, and Nevada's Bentley Sanders, one of the best corners in the country. He leads the country in INTs. Like, those two guys were the absolute stars, and then the rest were like a bunch of Plutos or something. Like, I don't know. It was those two guys. Every time that they were making a play, it was like they were playing a whole nother game, and we know that because Bentley Sanders has proven himself to be South Florida transfer, has proven himself to be like one of the premier corners in the sport at this point. Like, 5 interceptions, he's balling. I believe he had another one in that game. He's going to be playing on Sundays, and then Torrey Horton, who played receiver in Nevada, of course, he's just the best player on that team, and it doesn't even make sense that he's there because he looks like he should be, when you look at Torrey Horton and you look at the rest of Colorado State, it's like Torrey Horton, it's like, oh, this guy should probably be in the SEC playing at Alabama or something, but he's with us. Doesn't make too much sense. Okay, Torrey Horton shouldn't be playing at Alabama, but it's like, you know what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, every once in a while that happens.
Yeah, it's just every time he tosses the ball, something great happens, and like you said, it was a passing team that did not know how to throw the ball without Clay Millen. It was one of the most bizarre games that we'll ever witness, I think, because Colorado State scored 17 points, but 14 of them were in the first quarter off of defensive touchdowns, and they weren't pretty ones either.
And the last drive was incredible. They had gone 3 and out multiple times in a row, and then all of a sudden they get the ball back with one chance at a field goal, and they turn into like the Chiefs, just marching right down the field.
They're getting holding the ball. But
amazing.
This game was It's unbelievable how well Colorado State's defense played too. That needs to be noted. But for Nevada to only score 14 in this game is really worrisome. And yes, Nevada stinks. We already knew that. But you're only scoring 14 on your home floor like it's basketball, home turf against CSU in this rivalry game against coach you so desperately want to beat. That ain't good.
No.
No, that's real bad. And then how this game ends with Michael Boyle's award-winning flop.
Fantastic.
I just I can't believe he got that call.
As soon as he misses the first field goal by like 25 yards and you see the flag and it's untimed down, you know he's drilling the next one. You know it. That's just how karma, that's how the universe works. Yeah.
And
you got to look at it. You got a free look at it.
Yeah, he has not been a good kicker this year either. So it was still like questionable that he was going to make it. I saw Stanford Steve tweet out, was like, does anybody think that this Colorado State kid's going to make it? Every response, this is before the 48-yarder that he misses so tragically, was no, not a chance. No. This game is destined for overtime. We're going like 26 OTs, blah, blah, blah. We all felt like idiots after he drains the 43-yarder that we did not know was going to happen. But my friend so accurately called this with the GIF he tweeted, which was just Coach K falling to the ground. That's what Michael Boyd did. Just slowly
falling over.
Yes, it was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was the sickos game of the year. And you know who that result is beautiful for, though, is Nevada team total under ticket holders. So thank you very much, Colorado State.
And so good for the Mountain West, who could now recognize Colorado State as a true contender in this conference.
One win is all it takes to become a conference contender.
Thank goodness Boise State put in Taylor Green, and they look to know how to play offense now. Weird how that works. But we're away from those three games. Let's just talk about the week. What was the most surprising thing from week 6?
Most surprising thing to me was Texas State, the Bobcats, getting a huge win over Appalachian State in San Marcos. They did the whole blackout the stadium thing. That's a program that has been going in the wrong direction for 4 years. I think Jake Spavital is not much longer for that job. He has eschewed high school recruiting for transfer portaling. I think he took in like single-digit high school recruits in the last 2 years in Texas. Of all the states to not recruit high schoolers, you're not at UMass. You're not up at, Kent State or something like that at
UCLA.
Yeah. Like, to eschew high school recruiting in Texas is it's a good way to get out on the street, to get canned. And it had not been going well. And the team, Texas State, they don't really do they have a pretty decent pass defense. The analytics are kind to their pass defense. And they just shut Chase Bryce down. He had a lot of yards, but he was not effective. So Cam Peoples was out, and Nate Noel's been dealing with nagging stuff all week or all season.
Those two.
So they had
been healthy for a while, even going back to last year and Cam the year before.
Yeah, Peoples didn't even travel. Noel had like 5 carries. So, and then the game script, of course, called for them to take to the air because they were down 24-0 before they blinked. But Texas State, that is a huge win. Honestly, when you look at things like S&P rankings that rank all the teams from 1 to 131 or beta rank or those kind of analytics, App State was closer to Texas A&M than Texas State was to App State. And so that is the upset of the week for me by far.
Yeah, it was a shocking result for me. Had to be Toledo corner Quinyon Mitchell, who had 4 interceptions and 2 pick sixes. It wasn't just that he compiled that stat line. He also had 4 pass breakups. It's that he accomplished that early in the third quarter. And the 2 pick sixes were both in the first half. It's unreal. On our 2-hour MAC preview, I did highlight Quinyon Mitchell as someone that was going to break out for Toledo, be a big part of their defense. He's looking like he's going to continue to grow into a star talent that we could potentially see in the NFL one day. I do think Mitchell's that good. He's just a sophomore, folks. He's going to be good. And I just really liked that after the game, Daquan Finn, Toledo's quarterback, and Jason Candle, of course, their head coach, just having fun after. And a reporter asks Finn, like, has Quinyon never picked you off in practice? And Finn was like, no, not much. And then Candle interrupts. And he's like, no, not once. Quinyon's never picked Finn off once in practice. It's like, just speaks to how special Finn is. And I don't know, Quinyon's going to be really good. So,
Toledo looks like they figured out, because Jason Candle was cruising on that Scott Frost path of one-score games the last couple of years. I think they went 0-4 in one-score games last year, maybe, and have the class of the MAC in terms of the roster. But they figured out the problem to deal with that. Just blow everybody out. Win every game by 4 scores.
Yeah,
so they're kicking the hell out of that league right now.
It's a shame that Finn got hurt, and thank goodness he's okay, because he did get carted off in the San Diego State game and like came back and still played remarkable. But he doesn't get hurt, and they beat San Diego State, and it's tough to know that they should beat that team. They're so much better than them, but Toledo's going to be a problem. Look out for them. My preseason MAC champ. But how about the most disappointing thing from the weekend?
My disappointing thing, I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus here. I kind of ranted and raved about Oklahoma on the pod last week and about Iowa last week. So I'm just going to say, just overall, just a lack of close games. There was 1 or 2, but it just kind of felt like a sleepy week. There was a lot of intrigue on paper. I think there were a lot of matchups that I looked at, and especially that 7:00 window that had, North Carolina State, Florida State. That ended up being interesting. But like Wazoo, USC, just like this window was like, oh, there could be a whole lot of intrigue. And everything just kind of fizzled out. Not a super memorable week, other than Colorado State, Nevada, of course. But so just the week in general. But hey, you know how college football works. That means next week is going to be tremendous.
Yep, calm before the storm. These next 2 weeks are going to be incredible. My most disappointing thing, it was App State losing 36-24 at Texas State. How? Like, how?
Off the bye, too.
Yeah, like, how is this happening? Yes, you spoke to it. Jake Spavital, if you didn't know, to those listening, he's on the hot seat. Like, he's vocally, like, everyone knows, if you know about Texas State, Spav is on the hot seat. And the App State manages to lose this game against this Texas State program that's just down horrendously bad. It's insane. App State season has just made 0 sense so far. You had the bizarre 63-61 loss to UNC, which they were up so much in, and then were down so much in, and then could have won this 120-plus point game. They don't. You win at A&M. You need a Hail Mary to beat Troy with College Game Day there. You choke your 28-3 lead against your rival, JMU. Shootout win over the Citadel. Congratulations on being the blue blood of the FCS. But you now have this hard-to-believe result against Texas State, and it's just, it doesn't matter that Cam Peoples is out. It doesn't matter that Nate Noel is dealing with injury. This is a program that for years has thrived off of running back by committee success. They've thrived off their grit on the offensive line and toughness on stout defenses with strong playmakers, especially in the trenches at linebacker, even shut down corners with physicality. Where's that App State? That App State cannot be losing to a program as down bad as Texas State. There's no reason for App State to be 3-3. They're too good for that. They're too elite of a program, of a Group of 5 program, to be dropping games to Texas State. When this is a program that has aspirations of, moving up in conferences, helping the Sun Belt become a more prolific conference among the Group of 5 ranks and everything. And, like, there's App State fans that truly believe, like, yeah, this team, like, gets to the American or gets to a literal Power 5 one day. This isn't where this is a move that sends you in the wrong direction completely. I know App State will rebound, but, like, imagine if they didn't. Imagine if they never rebounded from losing at Texas State. It's speechless.
You think this is the canary in the coal mine?
I don't know. I don't even know what that means, but I know that this is just very, very bad, and it's not something that any App State fan would ever want to witness. but it's even worse when your rivals Coastal Carolina and JMU haven't dropped a
Right.
game all year, and they're moving diffy, and that's bad. But we'll move on. What player stood out most to you, Dan?
Israel Abanikanda, running back there for Pitt, for the Pitt
Shocker.
Panthers.
He was good. For some reason, he was really good this week. I don't know what he did.
300 plus yards on the ground, 6 touchdowns. He had an 80-yarder that sealed the game. He was unbelievable. When you're talking about, Pitt's got a Mount Rushmore, and you got LaShawn McCoy and Tony Dorsett, and you're putting your name in there with those guys in the record books. He was unbelievable. I mean, he really started to break out, become known more to the household name in that week 1. He had a huge clutch touchdown against West Virginia with the whole nation watching.
Is he to the hizzy?
Is he to the hizzy? He was strong last year, and he has been a stud this year. He's making a run at ACC Player of the Year. So, Abanikanda, that's my guy.
Yeah, that's our guy, Matt. That was one of his big draft sleepers for 2023. And here's the issue. People are awake now. People are
no longer sleeper.
Yeah, when you're breaking records that Tony Dorsett set back in the 1970s, like,
yeah,
you're kind of special. So good for Izzy. Izzy to the hizzy was one of the best lines. I think it was Dylan. I think it was Dylan that came up with that for us back in that West Virginia game. So good for Dylan. Izzy to the hizzy's sick. But it's Evan Stort for me. It's the true freshman receiver at A&M who I alluded to earlier. While we're aware of the potential that Stort had, it's been tough for him to produce in this offense. That's got a prehistoric scheme, poor quarterback play, blah, 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 blah. He's just had minimal opportunities to really showcase that talent and his potential in this true freshman season. You're playing Alabama, massive game, everybody's watching. It all changed. He looked incredible. He showed us a promising glimpse into his future. And he really might just end up being a top 10 pick. First round guarantee. I know that for sure. He had 8 catches for 106. That's 13.3 yards per catch. As a true freshman at Alabama. That's mad impressive. That's the stuff that helps you record record-breaking numbers for your breakout age. That's going to be cool to see his analytical profile. And you had that incredible moment with a minute left in the game where, much like that Trayshawn Harrison grab for Oregon State, Stort's making this grab where he's mossing the fool, and he's got the help coverage coming over that's just sandwiching him, man. It's unreal that he makes that catch. He's just such a smooth route runner. His jump ball ability is insane, and he has an elite catch radius. Like, he's just got it. As the kids say, as the Zoomers say, Evan Stort is him.
He is him.
Unreal. He's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be an impact player for the next 20 years. Like, he's going to right? He's supposed to 2 more years in college and then a long, long NFL career. Like, he's going to be making plays in like 2038. That's like a science fiction year. That's not a real year, 2038.
We so desperately need Jimbo to ditch this offense, figure it out, bring in someone who's got air raid ties or something, and just let us watch Evan Stort and Chris Marshall and these other young, talented Aggie receivers thrive and carve every Saturday. Like,
let's go.
They could do something crazy these next 2 years, especially with the defense that they've got. But let's go on and
Mike Leach to Texas A&M.
Mike Leach to A&M. You heard it here first. Let's go on to who we predict will be in the Big 12 championship game, because that race, people might not realize it yet. It's heating up.
Getting toasty.
It's looking real good.
I'm gonna go TCU and Texas Longhorns. Hook 'em.
Ooh.
I think these are the 2 best teams in the league. TCU, Sonny Dykes offense. This roster was not nearly as bad as it looked last year. With they had an early checkout last year in terms of Patterson and the culture there. So they've really built something on offense quick. Duggan is playing the best ball of his life, and the defense is pretty solid with the coordinator Gillespie that they brought in from Tulsa. I really like that hire. So I think that's his name, right? Gillespie. And I think that's a really strong, well-rounded team. And then give me Texas. I mean, we're talking about Texas as a playoff team if they don't go to Lubbock and lose a game that they won. They controlled that game. The post game win expectancy had them as a really, really deserved to win that game. But they did make a few plays, a couple of special teams things. And if that's their only loss, the Alabama close game, that's a playoff team if they win, if they won out. It's a shame to have that razor thin margin, but they look great. The defense under Kwiatkowski here in year 2 is much, much improved over last year. Sark is still, one of the 3 to 5 best play callers in the game. And yours is him as well. Yeah. We got another him. He's top 5 quarterback in the sport already. I'll say it. So.
It will never make sense to me that there was talk of him almost not beating out Hudson Card. The rat poison that we ate.
Do you feel like Sark was just trying to give him one last little kick in the ass before the season?
I genuinely wish I wish I had an answer. I genuinely don't know. It's just something that every time I think about it, I'm stuck there, lost as to how that was a storyline. Maybe like a SVP headline or storyline segment that he does, but how that was something is unbelievable. I too have Texas in the Big 12 championship game. I love TCU too, but I don't have them making it. I will speak highly of TCU right quick though. Speed is unbelievable. This team with their combination of speed, quickness, and explosiveness, it's not just on offense, it's on defense too. They're so much fun to watch. It's just at the end of the season, I think that they're going to be Oklahoma State this week. I'll say that now. It's the end of the season that scares me because 2 of their last 3 games are at Texas and at Baylor. I think Texas is too good with where they're at. I don't think Texas is going to drop many more games. I'm going to pick Texas to beat TCU there. And then Baylor's not a pushover. Like Baylor, that could just be a tough game where it's almost like TCU's having their playoff hopes if they were to be Oklahoma State and then win the next few games, blah, blah, lose Texas. Your playoff hopes are they're on life support, right? And you're going at Baylor. That's going to be a really tough game to win. Baylor's a lot better than I think the record shows. I think they've got a lot of disrespect from people. So I've got Oklahoma State and Texas in the Big 12 championship game. Those 3 teams are amazing. Like the Big 12, Oklahoma ain't putting on. There's some other just spectacular teams, man. For Oklahoma State, I think, yes, they'll lose to TCU, but I think they win out. And I do think that they are going to beat Texas, too. That's the game I think Texas drops. I get that Kansas State and Kansas back-to-back on the road are going to be difficult, but I'm just very confident in this Pokes team under Gundy. He's a star. Doesn't get enough national recognition and respect that he deserves. It doesn't make sense. Who does more with less? It's incredible what he's been able to do at Oklahoma State. I think Oklahoma State's going to be a very tough out. I think their defense is a lot better than they get credit for, even though they are giving up points. Shout out Baron Morton, the freshman quarterback at Tech who balled out against them this week. Incredible performance for him. And then I see Texas winning every game on their set schedule aside from the Oklahoma State game. So that gives us a 1-loss Oklahoma State, a 1-loss Big 12 Oklahoma State, 2-loss Big 12 Texas, 2-loss TCU. Tiebreaker, Texas gets it over TCU. That's why I've got Oklahoma State, Texas. I don't care though. Either of those, give me 2 of those 3 teams in the Big 12 championship game. I'm happy. I'd be really cool with seeing one of them make the playoff too. I think it would be great for the sport.
Oklahoma State and Texas have played some wild games in recent memory too. So that would be a fun Big 12 championship. I think Baylor. Sorry, you go. I was going to say I think Baylor TCU will be interesting. If you remember, TCU smoked them by multiple scores last year. Like that game was either a letdown game for Baylor or something. But Baylor's a good team, but they're definitely a matchup differential here in terms of the slow, pounded out, physical team in Baylor and the fast, get to the edge, get to the perimeter with Miller and those guys for TCU. So
yeah, and shout out Max Duggan because he's been a different beast this year. This is not the Duggan that we've been accustomed to. He's been incredible. He's been unbelievable. I keep saying incredible. I'm sorry. Duggan has been flat out great.
I mean, he didn't even start week 1.
Yeah, he didn't. It was going to be Morris's job, and then he got hurt, and he also looked shaky at Colorado. They didn't score a point in the first quarter. This TCU team didn't score a point in the first quarter against Colorado on earth. And then Sam Jackson, TCU is now back at quarterback, is also an electric factory. When he's
Yeah.
on the field and he gets to showcase his speed, sheesh. But yeah, I mean, those games featuring Oklahoma State, TCU, and Texas are all going to be must watch.
And we
Can't
finally
wait.
got our Quentin Johnson game that we were waiting for all year.
Yes, TCU finally got Quentin the ball, and he was looking amazing. He just looked fantastic. His movement was very good. It was very promising to see. The touchdown catch that he made. And then, as I always say, I respect TCU for doing rotating backs. I respect it. As someone that has Keandre Miller in my Campus to Canton Fantasy League, I would appreciate a lot more touches for him, more volume, please. Get more people to realize that he should be one of the top running backs in the 2023 NFL draft. He's just tremendous. If you want just some of Keandre Miller, I think might have some of the most impressive just runs in the country. Well, even after a catch too, just the tackles that he breaks and then the explosiveness that he puts on. It's like what people think Bijan does on every carry. Keandre Miller's doing that near every touch he gets. It's unbelievable to see what Keandre could do with the ball in his hands. I wish he got more respect. But let's go to a conference in a division that is watchable, but it's unwatchable. Who's going to win the Big Ten West?
Do I have to?
Yes, you do.
All right.
I
I it's gonna be Minnesota. I know they already have a loss in the division, but they're the most complete team. They're still one of the only actual quality teams in that division. I mean, Illinois is nice, great story. Year two with Bird and
should not be
Ryan
ranked.
Walters. They're not a very good team. They've gotten some,
No.
yeah. Ryan Walters is a great young and up and coming defensive coordinator there. But they're not going to hang it in all the rest of the year. Nebraska's playing themselves out of it already. I don't think it's going to be Nebraska. Wisconsin, no. Minnesota's got the best on both sides of the ball. I think they were my pick preseason. They were on a bye and then they just come all off. So we haven't thought about them in a good light in 3 weeks, but that's still the class of the division.
Yeah. Nebraska, I think the thing they have going for them is if teams see the Nebraska curse and think, oh, it's a 200 IQ play to lose to Nebraska. That way we don't lose the rest of our games. So we'll lose to Nebraska on purpose. And then that would pole vault Nebraska into the Big Ten West, first place, get the bid to go to the conference championship game. But unbiasedly, I went with UCLA. Well, I went with USC to win the Big. I went with Minnesota. I went with Minnesota to win the Big Ten West too. Also, my preseason pick to win the Big Ten West. And look, I'm just sick about even thinking who wins. Like the disaster of a division has created me and not even be able to speak proper English. I don't believe in Illinois. I don't believe in Purdue. I don't believe in Nebraska. I don't believe in Wisconsin. I don't believe in Iowa. I don't believe in Northwestern. I believed in Minnesota, and then they opted to not row the boat against Purdue, and instead they swam in the back of a garbage truck. I don't know. I guess I'll say Minnesota though, and truly the only reason is because I do like their defense. I really do. I'm saying that they're going to win the division because in a division with such putrid offense, they have Kirk Shiraka. I'm picking Minnesota because Shiraka at OC, 100%.
Yeah.
We'll go to your biggest takeaway from Week 6.
Okay, my biggest takeaway is that hear me out, but I think we are underrating Ohio State.
Yeah, they should be the number one team in the country.
They should be number one, and we need to start having the conversation about them as one of the best offenses of all time. And if you look at that, the way CJ Stroud plays, again, I'm not a scout, I don't know ball like that, but
damn those
throws, the throws that he makes are absurd. It feels like he could pause time and just walk the ball to his receiver and place it to them perfectly where he needed to be. And it still wouldn't be as beautiful as the throws that he makes. What just happened?
I think I don't remember if I've said this before, but I figure it out. I might have said this before. I've said
Okay.
that CJ Stroud is like he just like drops precision airstrikes all over. No, what he does is he accurately predicts where he's playing Battleship and he knows where the other ship is every single time. So he's just dropping bombs on the
Yeah.
ship, and that's the perfect ball placement that he has.
And
He
the
figured it
touch
out.
and the placement is unbelievable. And
Yes.
people are going nuts on that back shoulder throw to Harrison and the Marvin Harrison Jr. in the short corner of the pylon, and that catch, a great catch by Harrison. But like that's an 8-inch window, and Stroud puts it there with touch. Betarank is one of my favorite analytics systems out there. Shout out Rob Bowron, Sharp College Football. He's got Ohio State's offense as coming in range of 2019 LSU, the best offense we've ever seen. They've been doing that without Jackson Smith and Jigba, a future top 10 pick, top 5 pick. And they've been doing it without Trevion Henderson and Mayan Williams playing together in an impactful manner. They've been kind of seesawing who's been hurt, who's been not. So I think by November, we're talking about this as an all-time offense. I think Stroud is underrated. He had 6 touchdowns and 260 yards, and nobody's even talking about him the next day, it feels like.
Yeah.
Ohio State should be appreciated as a historic offense.
Yeah, I think with what Georgia has failed to do in recent weeks and with what Alabama has failed to show in the games against Texas schools, Ohio State's your clear number 1 team right now. Like, I don't know how that's not a common thought. Yeah, they had the blunder against Notre Dame, but okay, like each team, like we're
Would
gonna
you call that a
act like
blunder?
no, but
They
I
played.
truly wouldn't call it a blunder. Their defense was phenomenal.
I
Yes,
was going to say they showed an element that they've been missing the last 2 years. They were
yeah.
dragged into a game that they didn't win in 2020 or 2021, and they won.
But from a public's thought,
Sure,
Ohio State has that blunder against Notre Dame. So you don't penalize Georgia for the blunders against Kent State and Missouri,
oh, don't say it.
or you don't punish Alabama for the blunders against no Bryce Young versus A&M, and then the one versus Texas. Like, those don't get punished. It's just Desmond Howard on College Game Day saying, "Oh, I can't wait for Ohio State to join us this season. I can't wait till they play somebody." Buddy, please go look at who your alma mater has played this season and tell me that their strength of schedule is better than Ohio State's, because it ain't close, Chief. It's not close. While Ohio State still hasn't played, a great schedule or anything, at least they didn't have a non-conference slate that consisted of Hawaii, UConn, and Colorado State. At least they've actually been playing decent. I don't know, man. It's just tiring. It's like that offense is so special. You mentioned Mayan Williams is a guy that has not gotten the amount of respect that he deserves because Travion was doing his thing last year and Mayan flew under the radar. I like calling him Pork Chop, even though his name's Chop. So Pork Chop does his thing all the time, and nobody ever realizes it. Like, he's a potential NFL back, and he's their RB2. He's kind of taken on the role of RB1 with Travion being hurt a good bit. Hopefully Travion's okay. Hopefully Mayan's okay. Hopefully JSN's okay. Hopefully every Ohio State player that's hurt is okay, because they've dealt with all these injuries too, which is another reason that they should be the number 1 team in the country. They're doing it without key pieces every single week.
I think because of all these injuries, their counting stats at the end of the year aren't going to be as impressive as 2019 LSU. But I believe the play that we're going to see from week 10 through the Michigan game, through the I'm assuming all these things happen, but through the Big 10 championship, through the 2 playoff games, I think we'll realize this is an all-timer offense. CJ Stroud is the clear QB1 for the draft, in my opinion. I think even I got him a notch above Young at this point. Just he makes college football shouldn't be as easy as CJ Stroud makes it look.
There was a reason that my pick to win the Heisman going into last season and the bet I made was CJ Stroud.
Oh, me too.
Yes, and there was a reason that I was saying that Ohio State's offense last year was going to contend to be one of the greatest of all time and the best in that season. And it didn't turn out that way until the Rose Bowl, it seemed like. But we saw the glimpses. Like, what they're doing is no surprise to those of us that know ball. actually watch the sport. They're doing incredible things. They've been just exceptional. When they're healthy, it's going to be scary. You don't know how happy I was seeing Twitter and seeing some tweets that were like just showing CJ Stroud clips and then all the captions being, this is the guy, this is CJ Stroud, and NFL people think Will Levis is QB1.
Yeah.
Like,
they're going to galaxy brain themselves out of CJ Stroud.
This is the guy that all the draft analysts think is worse than Will Levis? Those tweets made me so happy. But enough about Ohio State. You'll get your flowers soon enough when other people realize that y'all be good at football. My takeaway from week 6 is something that we knew. The MAC is cutthroat. People need to stop assuming that who was good last year is going to be good this year. That's not how it works in the MAC. That's not how it's really ever worked. So people need to stop doing that. The hate that I got in our 2-hour MAC preview for saying Northern Illinois was going to regress, what is that? I was the one who was right. Why was I getting hate for that? I was just telling the truth. This is a team that was the favorite to win the MAC in 2022. They're 1-5, Dan. They're 0-2 in conference play. How about Central Michigan? Picked to finish third in the MAC West. They got like 4 votes to win the MAC championship this year. 1-5, Dan. They're 0-2 in conference play. And this was a team that just beat Washington State in the Sun Bowl last year. Last season, Northern Illinois and Central Michigan combined to go 18-9 with 12-4 in MAC play and the 13th win in the conference championship game. People just don't like to think that regression is real and could happen. Why? Like, it doesn't make sense. This is a conference that is so even. It's the most, when you're looking at conferences, this is the number 1 conference when it comes to an even level playing field. Yes, you still have your Akron and your Bowling Green stuff, but every conference has that garbage. Still top to bottom, this is the most even conference there is. Regression is going to happen. Parity is going to happen. It's a lot of coin flip games. It's a lot of close one possession games. It's not like, how do I say this without people think I'm a moron? It's similar to the NFL in a sense that because of those one possession games, even playing field, like each in MAC play, when two MAC teams are playing together, it's NFL-y in a way that these two teams are so even, it could go either way. It's a coin flip game, one possession. It's going to be close. It's going to be tough. Yeah, you're going to get some blowouts here and there, but it plays the most like an NFL if you ignore the fact that the product isn't always the best. But hey, the players are the best because they go on to play in the NFL. Just saying.
The analogy I was going to say it's kind of like MLB, where the best teams in Major League Baseball still lose like 60.
That's 58.
Fair. The best team in the MAC is going to go like 9-3. You're not going to get a 12-0 MAC team, 11-1 MAC team.
We will get it once in a blue moon, though, and it's always so good when we see like Northern Illinois and Jordan Lynch climb the mountain, or Western Michigan, a BCS game. Like that's that's the stuff that helps us, group of 5 guys, action men, feel so great. But in between those giant like runs of Cinderella success, this is what happens. This is, like, as I said in the summer, this was Toledo's conference to lose. They're proving it. I think that they've looked stellar. I think it's going to be Kent State still that they beat in the conference title game. And just remember this going into 2023, pending all the changes and stuff. What happens in the 2022 MAC season, much like Vegas, stays in the 2022 MAC season. It doesn't matter for 2023. Nothing from 2021 meant anything for 2022. Nothing for 2021. Nothing from 2020 meant anything for 2021. This is the MAC. Regression exists. Parity exists. There's a reason that so many different teams play in the conference title game year after year after year. Well, I forget which division it was, had each member of their division played in the MAC championship in like a 6-year span or whatever. Like, that's what happens in the MAC. It's a wild conference with incredible parity and good vibes. And for people to neglect regression existing is wild. Northern Illinois benefited from so many coin flip games last year. It wasn't going to happen again. I don't know why people couldn't just look at that and realize that it's hard to replicate. So yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. I rambled a bit about the MAC, but that was my biggest takeaway. It's cutthroat, dude, and just I just wish that more people were able to see and maybe listen to us. That
They will in 3 weeks when the games start playing. 4 weeks when we start getting
yes,
those games Tuesday and Wednesday.
November 1st is the first day of weekday action football. It's Christmas. The good stuff. This is where the takes about Daquan Finn being the most talked about player in recent MAC history come to fruition. This is where Daquan Finn does his thing. But podcast coming to a close, Dan. Unfortunately, we have to talk about the best and the worst thing that we saw this weekend.
Best thing that I saw this weekend, James Madison getting ranked. The Dukes, year 1 in FBS, ranked, and it's not even Halloween yet. Unbelievable. I watched almost all of their game against Arkansas State. I've watched a couple of the games already. Their skill position players are legitimately really good.
Chris Thornton.
Yeah, Chris Thornton.
Just sad
Percy
career
Ajayi,
record for
Obasai.
receiving yards in a game.
Yeah, they that game was close against Arkansas State until like the second quarter, and then it was like all at once they just unlocked what they needed to do, and then they scored 5 touchdowns in the second half. It was definitely a Jimmy's and Joe's, not an X's and O's kind of game, and their front seven is probably the best in all of G5.
What they were able to do in the portal for a transition school is crazy.
Yeah. So James Madison is a ton of fun to watch. I think they're the best group of 5 team. It's them or Cincinnati. I think they're better than Cincinnati. So
I don't think Cincy should be ranked, but I guess squeaking by South Florida moves the needle.
Yeah. That's thought about them for my biggest disappointment. First half Cincinnati. So James Madison, they're a ton of fun to watch. Tune in for their games. The worst thing I saw would be the worst thing I didn't see would be me going to bed and missing the Hail Mary of the year. So that's on me. I'll wear that one. Worst thing is me nesting comfortably on my pillow at night.
It wasn't the Hail Mary of the year, though. We could still give that to App State, probably. This was the one of the most improbable endings. It was just it's going to be in the You Got Moused Hall of Fame. I know that for sure. But look, I'll start with my worst thing. Let's start with James Madison got ranked. Let's go. That's great. Why would this go into my worst thing? Because FBS transition rule is one of the worst things that we'll ever witness, and it's something that we have to whine and cry about every time that this circumstance comes up, because if we're talking about it in April, nobody cares. If we're talking about in May, nobody cares. We have to talk about when instances come up. James Madison's 5-0. They're 3-0 in Sun Belt play. They're ineligible to play in the Sun Belt Conference Championship. They can't play in a bowl game. This is a team that could legitimately go undefeated. Maybe they lose one game. I don't know. Still, though, this team that could imagine if they went undefeated and they don't even get to play as the Group of 5 rep in a BCS bowl game. BCS bowl game, and I was still on the Maction talk in the New Year's 6 bowl game. That's garbage. If you're a first year program and you're that good, why are you being punished?
So to me, the rule makes a lot of sense. It prevents it's there to disincentivize teams from just moving up and down, moving the leagues, taking these moves that are unfair to their athletes, to their rosters, to just look for a quick buck or the best league. The problem is who's being punished in this rule right now is the kids at James Madison. And this was a program that built to this over the course of 2 decades and did this the right way.
Yep.
Whereas at the same time, you have schools that probably aren't ready to move up to FBS in Sam Houston and Kennesaw, grabbing that CUSA paycheck. And Sam Houston is probably not ready to be making this move from what I've been reading some beat writers. And it's going to be weird. And Kennesaw as well. And so they're going to be able to still make this move that this rule is in place to de-incentivize teams from doing, but it's going to punish. So I hope the James Madison athletic department, I mean, their director's been there for a long time. He's a veteran. He really did this in a very savvy, safe, and productive way. This is one of the biggest fan bases already in the G5, and they get a little more attention to it. and apply for a waiver. Hopefully there's a spot in a bowl for them. And I don't see the Sun Belt letting them into the title game, even if they win the division. I don't see that. But I think they're going to get a waiver for a bowl. And when you also look at the CAA last year being petty against the
CAA was terrible.
Remember that? So these kids are getting screwed twice in a row. So, hopefully they get to a point where they file a waiver and can make a bowl.
But okay, so just imagine we live in the world where JMU goes on the field, they file for a waiver, they get a bowl. Okay, are they going to the New Orleans Bowl instead of the Cotton Bowl or something? Is that what they're getting done dirty with? That's still not right. The lack of there would be no lack of motivation from the players as they're trying to improve a point and statement stuff. But it's just such a letdown that's the bowl game you've been playing in. It's just I think I do understand with everything you said about it being reason to contemplate whether this is a serious decision that you need to make if you want to go in the FBS. There's got to be a better way to do it that doesn't hurt the kids. There has to be a better way to do this. Yeah. It's not right. If you're this good early on, if the players are putting in this much work, the coaching staff's doing this well, when you're supposed to be garbage, when the public perception is James Madison's coming in, they're going to struggle in their first year, only win 3 or 4 games, whatever. And you're doing this well, there's no reason to be punished. You should be rewarded. And what we see in the 2021-2022 season with Bellarmine in basketball, who's a transition school, who gets to play in the ASUN tournament, wins the ASUN conference tournament, doesn't get to play in the NCAA tournament because of transition rules, which was also just a terrible thing. It was the rep for the ASUN in that NCAA tournament was Jacksonville State, who didn't even lose the conference championship game. Jacksonville was the loser of the conference championship game, and Bellarmine beat Jacksonville. But then the rules are we'll go to the 1 seed in the conference tournament. They deserve to make that. This stuff is garbage all across the board. What we see in 2014 when Georgia Southern and App State transitioned to the FBS. App State went 7-5. They were 6-2 in conference play. Didn't get to play for a bowl game. Georgia Southern went 9-3. They were 8-0 in Sun Belt play. They were dubbed the Sun Belt champs because there was no conference championship game at that time. Neither team got to play for a bowl game. If you're that good, you need to benefit from it. The kids deserve to benefit from it. They don't deserve to be punished. And also just to the people that sent DMs to me, and I think there were some YouTube comments about my James Madison takes that they could win 6 or 7 games this year, and you didn't like that I said that. I'm the one that was wrong because this team is going to win 9 or 10 games. I sold them short.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I sold them short too. I thought they would be more in the 4 or 5 win range. They've already beaten that.
Yeah, I saw something in Musigny's building, what they were able to do in the portal. I loved what they were doing. Tots and Tail. Unbelievable. My thing was with JMU was I think they could win 6 or 7 games and surprise some people, but Tots and Tail's gonna have to be really good for them to do that. They're going to shoot over those projections I sent for them with Tots and Tail being electric. He's been, Colorado State wishes that this was the Tots and Tail that they had. This is insane what he's doing. But the best thing for me, JMU gang ranked as one of them. Of course, yes, we are patient. I was patient as a voter with them. This is the first time I'm ranking them. AP's doing the same thing. What about you, Dan? Did you have them ranked before?
No, this was my first week ranking. This is my first week ranking.
I think the patience from us to wait till 5-0 was very fair. 3-0 cross play, very fair. Chris Thornton, one of the best receivers in the group of 5. But they
have a Power 5 game on their schedule. That's going to be real interesting.
They do. It is Louisville. Yes.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
The best thing has to be the Oregon State comeback, though, with Trayshawn Harrison's once-in-a-lifetime catch and run. I love how my best thing was your worst thing, and your best thing was my worst thing in a way. Kind of weird how we flip-flopped them.
That's great.
But this was just, again, as I led at the beginning, this was a game that was dominated by elite commentary for 3.5 quarters, and then everybody started to watch a football game, and it turned out to be an incredible one with a fascinating ending that nobody saw coming. Trayshawn Harrison is going to, yeah, I mean, he owns one of the best plays in Oregon State history now.
Yes, sir.
And nobody would have ever seen that coming with how that game was going. That catch doesn't make sense. The elevation that he climbed the ladder it's one of the best mosses I've ever seen. I don't know.
You're saying even if you saw it, you didn't see it coming. I mean, and I just didn't even see it. So
No, I mean, I feel bad that so many people had to miss that. It was too good. People gotta stop going to sleep. These games are too good. Sorry, Dan. You gotta stop going to sleep. You gotta prioritize these games. Like, you know, just brutal it is when the entire like timeline on Twitter is like popping off till the end of the A&M Alabama game, and then kind of subsides. Maybe the end of the Florida State game, and then kind of subsides. And then everyone's like, run long is over. Okay, bye-bye. It was so sad. There was like nobody talking about the Oregon State game. It was like the same 8 people talked about Oregon State Stanford at the
East
end.
Coast bias. We got to go to bed.
Stop going to bed.
15 in the morning.
It was a marvelous ending to a pretty solid day of college football and a good week 6. And that's where we'll leave you. But again, please remember to like and subscribe. That would help us a lot. Follow on Spotify and Apple. Leave a good rating if you want. And comment on YouTube. Comment what your favorite week 6 memory was. And we'll see you on the next one. A lot more content coming. Bye.